Spiritual reflections. Did you know your attitudes can attract negative spirits? Discover how to keep them away. Have you ever wondered why it sometimes feels like an invisible force is interfering with your life, causing blockages, difficulties, and even inexplicable feelings of sadness? Or maybe you've felt a heavy energy in your home or around certain people without knowing why. There's a deep spiritual reason for this. And many of us don't realize that our own daily attitudes can be a direct invitation for negative spirits to get close and influence our environment. If you think you're alone in your struggles, you're not. The spiritual forces that surround us, both positive and negative, play a much more active role in our lives than we imagine. In Spiritism, we learn that the physical world and the spiritual world are intrinsically connected. Our actions, thoughts, and even our feelings have a vibration that attracts or repels certain spiritual influences. Now, imagine that these spiritual influences can, indeed, be attracted by common daily attitudes, many of which we have no idea are creating openings for obsessors to approach and slowly drain our energy. These obsessors are often spirits who, unable to free themselves from past vices or traumas, end up seeking out those who are on similar spiritual frequencies with behaviors or habits that resonate with their own negative energies. In this video, we will explore 10 attitudes that attract obsessors and lower vibrational spirits. We'll learn how these habits can affect our spiritual, emotional, and even physical health. More importantly, we'll learn how to transform these attitudes by practicing inner reform so we can protect our energy and live in a more balanced and spiritually shielded way. The spiritual world. What are obsessors and how do they influence our lives? Spiritual obsession is a central concept in Spiritism, and understanding how it occurs is fundamental for our protection. Obsessors are spirits who, due to their own vices, traumas, hatreds, or material attachments, end up trying to influence those who still have weak points in their spiritual energy. These spirits are attracted by our negative emotions, addictions, and destructive habits, and they influence us in a subtle yet powerful way. While not all obsessors are malevolent, their influence is always harmful because it hinders our spiritual evolution. They try to undermine our confidence, instill doubt, and even drag us into addictive behaviors so that their energy can be fed. The reason this happens is that obsessors are still very much attached to the material world, clinging to emotions and pleasures that are no longer appropriate for the spiritual plane. They continue to seek energy from the living to feed themselves, often in exchange for suffering or emotional chaos. How can we protect ourselves from obsessors and negative influences? The key lies in constant vigilance over our thoughts, attitudes, and actions. The more we cultivate a positive, balanced, and evolution-oriented mindset, the more we protect ourselves from these influences. The daily practice of inner reform, which means consistently reviewing our habits and making spiritual changes, is the best way to keep negative energies and obsessors away from our lives. The 10 attitudes that attract obsessors and how to overcome them. Let's deeply analyze the 10 attitudes that attract obsessors and how we can modify each of them to protect our spiritual energy. 1. Overeating. Attracting spirits tied to vices. Food is more than just a physical necessity. It also nourishes our spiritual energy. When we indulge in overeating, we create an energy field that resonates with the energy of obsessors who are still attached to material pleasure. Lower vibrational spirits, especially those tied to the vices of the flesh, seek to take advantage of the energy produced by overindulgence. When we overeat, our vital energy becomes denser, and consequently, we attract spirits who are still attached to the physical world and its material pleasures. They approach us, draining our energy and pushing us into a spiral of a lack of control and self-sabotage. Solution: cultivate a balanced and conscious diet, always seeking moderation. Practice gratitude for your food, and when you eat, visualize a light energy nourishing your body. This simple act of mindfulness can be a great spiritual shield. 2. Drug use, a direct invitation to spirits of addiction. Drugs, whether legal or illicit, create a dense energy field that attracts obsessors of different natures, especially those linked to material dependencies and spiritual vices. Spirits who are still trapped by the pleasure of the drug or the desire to control people see the use of substances as an opportunity to feed on the energies of that vice. These spirits of addiction instigate the repeated use, making the addiction deeper and harder to overcome. Solution: spiritual recovery comes through strengthening willpower and cultivating a greater purpose of spiritual evolution. Practicing prayer and seeking spiritual help is fundamental. Adopting a life free of vices and focused on spiritual health frees not only the body, but also the spirit. 3. Cultivating doubt and insecurity, a mind vulnerable to negative spirits. Doubt and insecurity feed negative energies, creating emotional voids that are quickly filled by obsessors. They take advantage of our emotional and mental vulnerabilities, fueling uncertainty and a sense of unpredictability and insecurity. These spirits instill fear, anxiety, and a lack of confidence, causing the person to lose focus on their spiritual purpose and get carried away by negative emotions. Solution: practice self-confidence and self-compassion. Meditate regularly, seeking a connection with the higher spiritual plane. Remember that you are not alone. Your spiritual mentors will always be by your side, ready to guide you with good intuition. 4. Neglecting spirituality, abandoning your spiritual refuge. Spirituality is your refuge and protection against negative forces. When we abandon our spiritual practice, we open the doors to obsessors and negative influences. Lower vibrational spirits love it when we distance ourselves from our practice of prayer, meditation, or spiritual study, as it weakens us energetically. Solution: make spirituality a part of your daily life. Regardless of your religion or belief, the daily practice of prayer, meditation, and studying spiritual texts strengthens your connection with the higher plane and protects your energy from external influences. 5. Not working on inner reform, the will to evolve. Inner reform is the continuous process of working on our thoughts, feelings, and attitudes to achieve a state of spiritual balance and harmony. When we don't do this work of self-awareness, we are allowing negative energies and obsessors to easily settle into our lives. Solution: inner reform requires us to always be mindful of our actions, words, and feelings. Watch your thoughts and practice self-discipline to keep your spirit in constant evolution. 6. Not following good intuitions, losing the connection to mentors. When we turn away from our good intuitions, we are allowing our lower minds to prevail, losing the connection with our spiritual mentors. This opens a path for obsessors who specialize in suggesting negative thoughts and actions. Solution: listen to your good intuitions. If you feel the presence of a positive thought or a higher inspiration, follow that path, knowing that spiritual mentors are guiding you. 7. Not studying and lacking discipline, fleeing from spiritual growth. A lack of discipline in spiritual study prevents your soul from being enriched with the knowledge and spiritual wisdom necessary for evolution. Obsessors love it when a person gives up on studying and growing spiritually, as it weakens their energy. Solution: discipline and consistency are fundamental. Always study, seeking to learn more about spirituality and your own patterns. Discipline in study is one of the greatest spiritual shields against negative influences. Inner reform as a path of spiritual protection. Inner reform is a continuous but essential process so that we can protect ourselves from negative influences and obsessors. When we work on our spiritual evolution, we become immune to these energies that seek to hinder us. By acting with more love, confidence, and balance, we can ward off obsessors and connect with higher spirits. If you felt that any of these habits are still affecting your life, it's time to act and change. Start now, and with each step, strengthen your spirit to protect yourself from all the negative energies that try to get close. Protect your energy and transform your spiritual life. Now that you know the attitudes that attract obsessors and how to transform them, it's time to act and change your spiritual life. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and don't miss the next videos that will help you keep your energy protected and vibrating in harmony with the higher spiritual plane. Share this video with your friends and family and help them also protect themselves from negative spiritual influences. Every act of charity is an opportunity for spiritual transformation. Click now and start your journey of spiritual evolution.